Hi, Fashion Dolls. It is Winsome Wednesday, August 6th, and welcome to another episode of Style by Stevie. I am super excited about my very special guest today. She is a strategist. She is an advocate. She is an arts and culture professional, and she is the director of Esurient Arts. And I'm super excited to have her here for some girl talk as we get into all things Black women and things that are going on and what we can do to move forward as Black creatives, as Black filmmakers, as Black directors, as Black writers, as Black producers, and so much more. So, without further ado, I'm going to share this live with my beautiful, very special guest, and we're going to get this show started. I hope you all are doing as awesome as I am. I'm a little disappointed. I ordered this rug, and the rug turned out to be not the size I wanted it. So we're going to have to do something. Probably might have to go out and buy another rug. But yeah, I've just been on my home decor bag lately. I've been really wanting to redecorate and move things around and shift things around and get things in order. But I hope you all are doing awesome out here and keeping safe. I know it's a lot going on in the news and it's a lot for us to take in and digest, but make sure that you are protecting your mental health and wellness. That is overall key, critical, and important. I wonder, where is everybody today? Welcome, welcome if you're just coming in. Welcome, welcome. I need you guys to share the live with about 20 people. 20 people, Fashion Dolls. Welcome if you're just coming in. I hope you all are doing wonderful. Are y'all ready for some girl talk? It's been a minute since we had some girl talk. So I'm super excited. My very special guest should be joining me. But in the meantime, woosah, everybody. I hope you all are taking deep breaths, protecting your mental health and peace, and I hope you all are doing things that is beneficial to you, taking care of yourself. Self-care is key and critical and important, and as you guys can see, I've been on this health kick, so let me get into that. Well, I've been back to exercising and I am down. I was 214, I think I said in one of my interviews. Now I'm down to like 200. So the weight is coming off. I had to get back to a decent shape and size because my doctor said that my triglycerin was very high, and that's very alarming. And in the Black collective, we got to make sure that we are taking care of ourselves, especially during this time and this climate that we're in. Shout outs to my brother K Tukes. Make sure you guys please head on over and subscribe to the K Tukes spot. This is going to be a very amazing girl talk that we're going to have today. Two Black women giving our perspective on things, and I'm super excited about my very special guest because she has done some things. Y'all haven't even heard the half of it. So once she gets here, we're going to get into that. But I need you guys to head on over and subscribe to my brother, the K2 Spot. Make sure you guys head on over there and check that out. But lately I've just been in my health bag, focusing on myself, focusing on getting back to being healthier again. And as you guys can see, the results are showing off. And I'm thankful for that. Getting out here every morning, 7 to 7:30, it's been like a morning walk, a morning run, and it's been so therapeutic, and it feels so good. I'm sore. My knees are sore, but it feels good. Like I'm hopping, getting around. Y'all didn't see that coming on here, but it feels great. I feel good, look good, and when you take control of your health, you see a difference. So my mom was right, and you guys were right also as well too. I love this look today. Thank you. You guys know that it is fall season. August, we're in the fall fashion months, and you guys know that I had to switch it up a bit, so I had to go with olive green. And as you guys can see, my eyes are green today as well too. Kudos to Melanie Nella, my Bridges, for making sure that the face is beat every single day, every single episode. So in the meantime, between time, while we're waiting on my beautiful, very special guest to get here, y'all just don't know the half of what this woman has done. She is everything. When I tell you, She works through the arts and culture advocacy. She works for civil rights. You guys know that I'm big on fighting for equality for us as black people, as BIPOC, as any marginalized group, especially in this climate. She's a mental health advocate. She is a community development advocate. She's crisis intervention. And I adore all of the work that she has done. So you guys are going to see two amazing black women give our take on what's going on in the world, hearing her story, and me sharing bits and pieces of myself today in today's show. So I'm super excited for that. But in the meantime, between time, let me share this live with her again so that we can get her in here. And make sure you guys go and check out Monday's show. Yes, definitely go and check out Monday's show with Jamarco. Jamarco Duhart, great conversation. We had to get into everything that is going on, and it is more and more revelations coming out each and every day about this administration. So make sure that you are, because it's neck breaking, head turning every 24 minutes. They're always doing something, always rolling back a right. Make sure that you are being gentle to yourself. It's a lot to digest. It's like taking bites out of a big sandwich. Every single day we have to make sure that we are chopping it down bit by bit by bit and find trusted news sources. I'm a trusted news source. There's no big corporations backing me. Everything is independent here. And it is my opinion also. All right, so y'all ready for some girl talk? Without further ado, let's welcome our beautiful, talented, special guest, Dr. Dabrina Sandifer. Hello. Hi, gorgeous.
Good. How are you? Let me get adjusted and be fabulous like you.
Thank you. How are you? Welcome to the dollhouse.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, 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 yes. So before we kick off this interview, how has 2025 been for you so far?
Oh, busy. Blessed and busy, beautifully busy, and I'm very grateful for that. What about you?
The same, girl, the same, and trying to keep busy. And it's been a journey, but we're getting through it. And it's amazing to keep us. I love what you do. First off, I want to give you your flowers before we get into your story and get into all things girl talk, all things black women. I love what you're doing with your nonprofit. Now, you've been involved in so many things, from fighting for civil rights, the arts and culture advocacy, mental health, which is something that I talk a lot about on my platform here, crisis intervention, community development. Your nonprofit is Esurientarts, and I've seen and went through and did a little bit of research. You've gotten involved in so many things. And when we
Hmm.
were chatting behind the scenes as well, too, you saying, I'm not a one trick pony. And I believe that people also should be getting involved in the arts. I sat with so many filmmakers and actors and directors and producers, and we always talk about what we can do to help up and coming producers and directors, black filmmakers predominantly, and
Hmm.
how tough it is for us to have to start somewhere. So, had to give you your flowers for that, and especially being a woman, being black, someone who looks like me, because we're both black women, and we
Right.
know the challenges that we have to go through in order to get in the top in these businesses where
Hmm.
everything is so male dominated, but you still persevered regardless of all the obstacles. And I've
Yeah.
watched some of your interviews and I've watched some of your stories. And I must say, I am honored to be sitting here with you, Queen, because again, one black woman to another black woman, it is not easy. This journey is not easy, but you have made it a way. And I have to give flowers to another black woman for doing what needs to be done in a time like this
Hmm.
where our stories, our rights are being erased and rolled back. And it's important that we preserve the history and the lineage. Today marks the 60th anniversary of the Voting Rights Act. Did you guys know that? 1965. And it's important that we continue to hone in the arts, especially black arts, black filmmakers, black producers, and your company, your nonprofit does that. So I
Hmm.
had to give you your flowers, girl. So let me stop rambling.
No, thank you. And the feeling is mutual. I think it's great that you give a space and share your platform, right? Because different people have platforms, but it doesn't mean that we have to share those platforms. And it's not
Yes.
wrong not to. And, this is how we met. It's not like we are cousins or we are besties. No, you saw some light in me, reached out to me. I saw a light in
Yes.
you and was like, yeah, I'm happy to chat. But yes, I'm so grateful for that. I think sometimes we don't give a person their flowers while they can smell them, or we, for some reason, well, there's like this stigma about women not being able to praise and love on one another.
That
And
part.
I
They think we're
daily
gonna be catty, and that's not the
Right,
case.
no. And I dismantle that all the time. Like there was a woman, I had a meeting yesterday per usual. This is my life. And I was on an elevator, frankly, at a predominantly white institution, and this black woman happened to be on there, and she was just like, "Your fragrance smells pretty." And it's like it gave me an extra umph before walking into that meeting. I don't know her. I don't know what she was doing there, any of that, but just the spirit of how she looked at me and how she worded it, I appreciated that. So, it's always, I like to say, each one teach one, reach one. And there's no problem with that, right? And I will say, just for anyone else who's not familiar with us, we are actually nonprofit adjacent. So we are intentionally not a nonprofit because with nonprofit, as you see with a lot of them, when you're so dependent on grants and donations and all of that, when
Oh
someone is in
yes.
office and does not like the demographics that you target, then your capital
Hello.
gets played with. And so we've always intentionally not been that. However, we most of our clients are nonprofits. So because of my over 20-year career separately from Esurient Arts, working in the nonprofit sector, we are able to support other nonprofits. And it works well for us too, because we're able to provide consultancy and guidance, and it's never a conflict of interest because we are not a nonprofit. So we're able to help our fellow people in the arts and all of that. And I wanted to make it a point to mention that a lot of people think we're a nonprofit because we do what a nonprofit does, right? Or supposed to do, very community adjacent and facing. But I want people to know that you can have a for profit and still do good work. Just like a nonprofit is still a business. You have to still treat it like a business. It just has a different tax liability and structure and all of that good stuff. So I hope that encourages somebody out there.
Yes, and it does. And I'm gonna go back to what you just said about black women, and we, especially for us, we get it the worst. Where they say that, oh, when black women aren't able to get along, they can't get along. It's gonna be catty. It's gonna be this. But for men, it's completely opposite. It's just like, yes, we're getting along. And
Yeah.
especially in the climate that we're in, we're seeing black women all stick together saying, I'm in my resting period. So before we get
Yes.
to your story, Dabrina, I wanted to talk about soft girl era. And I'm pretty sure you've seen it on Tracy Ellis Ross, Taraji P.
Yes.
Henson. They
Yes,
are examples of
honey.
that where black women are saying, I'm protecting my peace. I'm stepping out. I am not tuning into anything that is going to be harmful to me and my mental health. And
Hmm.
Taraji P. Henson has been a big advocate for mental health as well too. And we see Tracy Ellis Ross, and I'm pretty sure you've seen it, where she's taking trips across the country. Like black women are protecting their peace. They are in their soft girl era. And I think Summer Walker also alluded to something about being gentle to yourself as well too. That is key and crucial, and not just for black, but we're talking about black women as a collective. What does soft girl era look like to you, Dr. Dabrina?
To me, it looks like taking our rightful place. Like you can be a quote unquote badass and handle your business and know when to be a shark and to be very ambitious, but that doesn't mean to be a workhorse. I tell people I've taken my Harriet Tubman, respectfully, I've taken my Harriet Tubman cape off and I've burned it because it's not sustainable, right? I think that Black women, because of systematic things that were not
Yes.
intended to benefit any Black person, woman or not, I think we got into the habit of always filling in the gaps, of always stretching even when it was too much, of always suppressing our emotions and doing things like that. Really, I mean, and people can look it up. That can turn into autoimmune illnesses, that can turn into cancers and all of that, because you cannot hold all of that in. And we are meant to
Mm-mm.
rest. It doesn't mean just because you lay down at night in your bed, you may not actually be resting. So what that looks like for me is saying no and letting no be a complete sentence, And even if I smile with it, it doesn't mean that it's negotiable. And that's okay. Learning to accept that. Also being more intentional about time that has nothing to do with a task or an obligation that benefits someone else. Because to be honest, the soft girl era, or that self-care, any other words that people have used for it, have been a struggle for me. Work since I was a minor was my vice, because I started out in the arts and doing business like things very, very young. And so it's something I've had to learn gradually, because you may think, well, my goals need me, I have to go after it. Yeah, but as you're doing that, life is passing by, experiences are going by. When people who you love dearly pass on, you can't go back and have lunch, something as simple as lunch with them, or watching a show, or walking on the beach. So it also looks like honoring my goals and my ambition, but knowing that I
Mm,
don't have to choose one or the other. So, for instance, I was recently in a different state, doing some various presentations and things like that for a conference. These people wanted us to come and present to various organizations throughout this one state, but we were at a resort. And so my stay was complimentary. The package or whatever came with a vehicle, so I got a Jeep, because I know that, knowing me, I might want to go exploring somewhere or whatever else. And so I allowed myself, hey, I'm going to be on time, and I'm going to be strong and effective, and be accessible to people after my presentations who may want a point of connectivity. But instead of me stuffing my face during lunchtime, or instead of me just going to bed when the day is over, or just eating in my room, I'm going to visit the pool. I'm going to drive to the beach that's less than 10 minutes away. And I'm going to
mm,
stay here as long as I want to. So to me, soft girl era also includes no longer being ruled by fear, right? When you think about it, and this was not this was a predominantly white area that I was in. And yes, exercise caution, but I was on that beach and I was by myself, as in not with anyone else who knows me. And I just allowed myself to know that I am protected, that I was guided here for a reason, how much I love water, how much it what it does, and what the sunlight does for my spirit, and how, who knows if I'll ever visit that city again. And why would I miss, like, knowing that I love beaches and water and nature? Why would I miss this opportunity because I'm here on business? I've handled my business, honey. And we even got potentially some additional clients from how we performed and how we executed during that. So again, me exploring, me driving around, me even pulling over. I saw these cliffs and stuff, because I landed in one city. That had the airport. The city that I had to work in doesn't have an airport. So I had to then drive like an hour away, which, hey, I'm from Houston, honey. Sometimes you're in Houston and you drive an hour and you still off in Houston, okay? So I was driving to the city where I would be working again, never have been here before. And I happened to see these like winding roads and this beautiful cliff and this amazing park. So I pulled over, parked in the park. I walked over to the cliff, took some videos and pictures, FaceTime my younger sister who's 19 years old just to show her and tell her about it. Took some photos of the flowers, enjoyed it. And again, cautious, right? But not allowing fear to do that. Or even
mm.
black girls don't do that. Southern women, all of those isms that people force down our throats. So to me, the soft girl era includes, or I wish for it to include for everyone, to also release lies that other people have told you about yourself, and to release these requirements and parameters and barriers really that people have placed on you, that do not align, and it does not serve you, and it's not who you are. So that's what it includes for me and what it looks like to me.
Absolutely. And finding the little things in life, because we as women, we put so much of ourselves out here in the world. And as it pertains to business, as it pertains to family, as it pertains to balancing out every single thing, it is a balance. And my mother, she told me that. My mother's a Libra, by the way. And one thing she prides herself on is making sure that you find that balance. And I was watching this interview with Diana Ross, and this was years ago. I'm a big Diana Ross fan. The interviewer, he asked her, "Do you believe that women can have it all and balance out?" She said, "Yes, I'm a mother and I have my successful music career. I can have it all. I can find that balance. And I believe that other women can find that balance as well too." It was an interview she did years ago, and I think it was on ABC, one of the networks, and they were asking her about balance. So watching that interview clip right there has stuck with me years getting into hosting this platform right here. And I said, it is a balance because my mother's been sick, having to take care of
Wow.
her, having to take care of my health, having to take care of everybody around me. And it's just like the strength of a woman. We keep giving and giving so much to the point where you cannot pour from an empty cup. So that's why I asked about Soft Girl Era to another Black woman, because it is key and crucial that we take care of ourselves. Because if we
Yes.
don't, nobody's going to do it for us. We have to make sure that we are pouring into ourselves and pouring back in, because we give so much of ourselves to the world. And especially
Mhm.
for us being in this business where you're working with a lot of actors, up and coming actors, producers, writers, directors, making sure that your business is intact, making sure that
Yeah.
if you got kids, that making sure that the kids are good. The kids just went back to school. So, I mean, it is a balance. It's literally like,
Right.
okay, head on swivel 24/7.
Mhm.
I got to make sure that everything is in order. And you're juggling like they juggle at the circus. You're having to juggle all of them and keep the balls afloat. That's what we as women we do 24/7. So it is key and crucial that we pour back into ourselves. Now, Dabrina says that she drives and she goes to the beach, which I think is very therapeutic. My mom, she does gardening, and we're seeing a lot of our people, Black people, get out here and say,
Yes.
hey, if they're going to be raising the prices on things, we got to make sure that we got to harvest, and they're gardening. And we're seeing Black women get out here and garden more than ever. And it's so many. I can go
Mhm.
down a list of women that I've seen on YouTube, Black women, and they are creating their gardens, growing their harvest, preserving what they
Right.
grew in their garden, holding
I'm
on
one of
to it
them.
so that it can have a longer life. Uh,
Mhm.
for me, I'm a glamour girl. I love hair and makeup. I love getting my nails done. That is a must for me. So that's my method of self-care and my soft girl era, being gentle to myself. But I also love to read. I'm an avid reader. And I'm always
Mhm.
in a book. And I feel as though when you read, when you write something, the power of creativity. And that leads me right here into Dr. Dabrina's story of the power of creativity with her brand, Esurient Arts. What I love about it is that you dedicate your brand to fostering access to humanity and belonging to, especially you said Houston, and we all know who's from Houston, and I'm a big fan of her, and that is our girl Beyonce. That
Uh-huh.
when I look at her, she is the catalyst for what being a successful woman is, because she's a mother, she's a businesswoman, she's an artist, one of the globally most international superstars in the world. And
Mhm.
she's able to carry all of these things on her back. I know it must be a lot. And we as women, we carry so much on our backs to the point where it's just like, wow, what else do I have to take in? So
Right.
that was going to be my first question to you, Dr. Dabrina, your story, because I know it wasn't easy. Growing up in
Yeah.
Houston as a little girl with aspirations, with a vision, what was that like for you?
So, it was interesting, right? Like a lot of things are not just like we're not a monolith. Sometimes a story isn't a
Oh, yeah.
monolith. So while of course like I always wanted to do things that there was no blueprint for, and I am a layered person with a lot of duality and things. So some qualities of me you wouldn't think would go together. Like I love perfume and
Me
dresses and
too, girl.
heels and all of that stuff too, right? But I have to be outside at some point every day. So I am a girl that has like plants and wants to grow crops and wants to reach back in my lineage because I come from farmers from several generations ago, 1800s, and pouring back into
Yes.
that. But so again, that duality, I love race cars and all of that, and I love aggressive breeds of dogs, but I'm such a little saucy too. So I like to bake and do stuff like that too. So point is, pertaining to the question, um, I did. First of all, my existence did not happen. So my mother was not supposed to be able to have children because of an accident that she had as a teenager. So
God.
her and my dad, they didn't even know each other at the time of the accident when they met. First of all, they both thought they would never get married and all of that until they met each other. And so then they were married and just not really thinking about kids because neither one of them intentionally wanted that. And I'm the eldest of five. My parents ended up having five children. So to go from being told you'll never have kids, and even if you do conceive, your child will not make it to term.
Can
So
be risky.
Right. And so she had her and my dad, together, they had 5 children, all naturally, no IVF assistance or any of that. Not to say that that's wrong, but all of their kids essentially weren't really planned, even with being on birth control. She had to keep changing them because she would go on one birth control and a baby comes and she goes to so all of that. So anyway, I am literally the impossible. And then my mother carrying me was her most difficult pregnancy. I'm the only C-section baby. We both almost died during my birth. She was placed on bed rest and all of that. And so even with my birth, I was in the hospital longer than my mom. And I had tubes in my head. I had all sorts of, it's a whole story, which we actually included some of that in one of the shows that we co-produced entitled The Mother Project, that focuses on Black motherhood and features a doula and all kinds of stuff. But anyhow, um, I would keep surviving, and the medical professionals would keep speaking negativity and death over me. So I kept making it. And then when they saw that I wasn't dying, then they would tell my parents, well, she's going to have developmental issues in some capacity, and or she'll have some type of learning disability. Well, I stand here with an earned PhD. I also graduated from a program that Forbes considers to be Ivy League level. And that's
Hello.
specifically the program that I did in executive level of nonprofit leadership. When I was in the first grade, they wanted to skip me to the fourth, like all of these things. So all of that stuff that was said about me wasn't true. They even told my parents, well, you all are young enough to try for another baby. As I'm still alive here, right? So I say all that to say, I really do think that what we experience in the womb and our birth experience can impact certain layers of our personality potentially. So I think for me, I had to fight since before I even took my first breath. And the thing, so my her pregnancy with me was already risky, but as far as us both almost dying, that was due to a mistake on the behalf of a medical health professional. So that ties into too how Black women are not listened to, how we are more likely
Hello.
to encounter, right? We are more likely to encounter um hardship and challenges when birthing babies in hospitals. And it's why we've also done community organizing and advocacy around women's health rights and things like that as
Adriana
well.
Smith.
So yes, and I mean, it's such a controversy, and Texas now has some different laws, and I mean, it's a whole thing. We could do another TED talk on that, right? The point is, I think because I'm literally here against all odds, um, I think it just gave me a certain level of grit and tenacity that I kind of don't know anything other than. And so with that, right? And then I was kind of small when I was younger, so sometimes kids would try to pick on me, so I had to be more fiery and defend myself and things like that. Or with me always being a nerd, always kind of being quirky, even when it comes to being sensitive, like energetically, like being able to sense certain things and all of that, I was always different. And so, quite naturally, that's going to come with something from adults even making comments. I even encountered jealousy sometimes from adults in school
Wow.
who were mad that I kept being put in plays and all this stuff. And it's like, you're a teacher. Like, why are you upset about a third grader being put into something? But I think all things work to my greater good. Yeah, things may sting at the moment. And I've experienced other things too that are darker, including witnessing suicide in my home when I was like 2 or 3 years
Gosh.
old. And I still remember like that image. I still remember it and everything. And this was a relative. This was my uncle who I was very close to. But um, I don't ask for sympathy about that because that's largely why I went into mental health. It's largely why I've been able to intercept when people are having suicidal thoughts or in the midst of attempting suicide. So again, um, not in a way that's sifting through poop to find pearls, but in a way that I feel is genuine. I think all things were working in my greater good and all things were leading me to my purpose and my path. And I think my work in mental health, it vindicates my uncle's spirit, whatever was. And the thing about that is, you would never imagine that this was on his mind. He was jovial. He would joke. We would watch movies. He was like present and interactive and all of that. And I tell that story to people because I want them to know, let's stop slandering people who are in the middle of mental health difficulty. Let's keep our eyes open. This is why I'm a mental health first aider and why myself and Esurian Arts will be certifying other people who don't work in it professionally, but equip them with the tools to be able to spot these things. So anyway, me being this little black girl from the south side of Houston, Texas, and my accent used to be thicker. I sounded kind of like Whitley Gilbert from a different world. A mixture of that and like the older Southern belles from the old movies. I sounded
Oh
like a
yeah.
combination of that. So imagine that. I got called Oreo. I still get called Oreo sometimes and all of that. But I was very fortunate to have a solid village. So no, everything wasn't perfect. I'm the first kid. So there's always going to be a little hiccup with the first kid. They're experimenting. They're trying to figure it out as they go. But I can say that I mean the first time that I remember, and she probably did this before, but the first time that I remember my mom pouring into me and telling me that she admired me, that she learned from me, I was in kindergarten. Because I was been a nerd again. I came home and told her about the Abraham Lincoln assassination and the details of it because we learned about it. And I've always been very detail based, so there were certain details that she forgot about from school and things like that. And then my dad would always empower me to know that whatever you put your mind to, you can do it. It's just a matter
Yes.
of you deciding that, and you don't let anyone else intercept that. So again, everything wasn't perfect, not by a long shot. Like I said, I've experienced other things too, but I just think that it was my destiny. Speaking of Beyonce, Destiny Child, it was my destiny perhaps, and that sounds cliche, but I really do think it was my destiny to go through all of what I went through, to witness all of what I witnessed, in order to be an advocate that I am today, and in order to be able to see people and also see through them in ways that maybe they can't articulate and they really need but aren't sure of how to ask for it. So I wouldn't really change anything about my experience. I mean, even the worst of it, even really, really hard things that I haven't even mentioned, I would not change that because I don't know how it would change who I am today. Now, I'm not looking for no more hardships. I'm not sadistic, but I just figure, you know what? I'm still standing, and I'm not only still standing. I'm not only a survivor. I'm a thriver. I am victorious, and that allows me to pass that message on to other people. Your darkest moment does not ever have to be your defining moment if you don't want it to be.
Yeah. And you are also the host, speaking of darkest moments, you are also the host of Dark Mondays with Dr. Dabrina Sandifer on All Real Radio. And I'm gonna piggyback to mental health because in the Black collective, we don't really. I talk about it a lot here on my platform, and I always use this one example. And Dr. Dabrina, you know exactly which example I'm talking about as it pertains to Good Times. It was an episode of Good Times where James comes in the house. And he was mad as hell. He came in and he slammed that door and he went to the kitchen table and he threw that chair against the wall and went in the room and stormed in. And Florida didn't know what to do. She was just shocked. um, Mental health. And Michael was the one who hit the nail right on the head. He was like, Daddy, something is wrong. You need to go get checked. In the
Yeah.
Black community, we shun people. Oh, you don't need to go to therapy. Ain't nothing wrong with you. Go and talk to God about it. Faith without work, and my cousin who's coming on the show, Sherry, she said this. She said, faith without work is dead. And if we don't do the work, God put therapists here for a reason. There is nothing wrong with going to sit on the couch and talk to somebody. And I was reading an article from Essence Magazine, and it talked about Black women and self ideation. And the person that they used as an example was Phyllis Hyman. I have to go through and
Mm-hmm.
look through the archives. This was 1997. We're going all the way back to 1997, where they were talking about Black women, Black people, and mental health. And we are now here in 2025, where we're seeing more and more fellas, because I know a lot of men watch this show too. Don't be mad at me for this comment I'm about to say. Okay. There are some men who would rather keep their stuff bottled up inside. Whereas for
Mm-hmm.
women, it's easier for us because we come from an emotional place, a very vulnerable place. We're easy to talk to. And that's that nurturing spirit where it's just like, okay, I'm letting my guard down for a little bit. I'm willing to let you know what's going on. And we inherit that from our mothers. We always inherit some trait from our mothers growing up. And I know for me, it's the nurturing state. And just like Dr. Dabrina said here, that fiery, that feistiness. I'm a Scorpio. So I feed off of my mother's energy. And they're like, yeah, you your mother's child for sure. And I think my grandmother told me that because she was the woman who brought my mother into this world. So I'm just like, one apple doesn't fall far from the tree as far as being a black woman and being opinionated. And that's one thing I can give my
Mm-hmm.
mom credit for, which is standing up for people. You see somebody being hurt, stand up for them. It's always that protector or that what I like to call the mother bear complex for people. We always want to help people. You see a baby bird on the ground, we're going to want to pick it up and help it fly, fix the wing and help the baby bird fly. That's always been my mentality. But I say that to say this for black men, we're starting to see more and more black men open up and be vulnerable the same way as women would, the same way we would, coming from a
Mm-hmm.
place that is emotional, talking to someone, getting mental health. And I think that Big Sean? Big Sean was one of the ones out here, one of the black men out here that were talking about mental health. And we're seeing more and more men open up about mental health. And that was something that I wanted to ask you, Dr. Dabrina. What do you think about our black men? Open up and be vulnerable and say, hey, I'm not okay today. And I'm pretty sure you've seen the interview with is it Cam Newton? Cam Newton, and he had Woody on the show. And he asked him
Yes.
a question, and Woody just was like, I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
have to think about that. He asked him a question about his daughter and how precious she was to him, and also about his mental health. And
Yeah.
to see him be vulnerable, to see black men cry and be vulnerable, because as black people, we all have been taught for 400 years, you need to be stoic, you need to be strong. And it's just like, I don't feel okay today.
Right.
I don't feel okay. I don't feel like smiling. I want to just let everything that is inside of me out. But that was going to be a question I want to ask you, Dr. Debrina. What do you think, for us as black women, what do we think about men being vulnerable and open and saying, I'm not okay today?
Yeah, I think it is beautiful. Not only beautiful, but it is necessary. Um,
Yes.
I think I don't think that it's just about gender. I think that for women, we have more open spaces and we're more
Yes.
encouraged or groomed to be that way. Now, some of us, which I've experienced this, have gotten into seasons or periods of suppressing things as well. But I think with men, it becomes a stigma as though them having emotional intelligence or doing check-ins and just verbalizing how they feel, somehow that goes against their masculinity. I think that's why we see a trend for them to keep it hush hush. I don't think it's natural for them. I think it's something that they're groomed into, and it's why, again, with your example, which Good Times happens to be one of my favorite shows ever,
Mas-
so I know exactly what you're talking about. And James Evans had high blood pressure, walking around looking like a fool, and all
yes.
this kinds of stuff, and ignoring it. It's why we get the chair slammed on the door. It's why we get the high blood pressure, and they're just like, no, I just need to drink some water and stand up or whatever. It's because, again, what we ignore emotionally or mental health wise, it's going to have a toll or take a toll on our physical in some capacity and or our temperament. So again, I think it's necessary, when we talk about building our own internal communities or with the intersectionality of other communities, as black people are a part of other communities and other communities want to come in and be allies for us, or they have biracial children or loved ones or whatever else, having that, I like to say, brave space instead of safe space, because we can't always guarantee a safe space. And I say that because we do a lot of facilitation, we do a lot of healing sessions, for leaders, for community members, for all sorts of stuff. And so I don't say safe space because, yeah, people may act a certain way because of the community
Oh, yeah.
agreements that we've decided in here, or just the non-negotiables that I've laid out, such as, hey, we're not going to be volatile towards one another and all of that. But when I go away and the session ends, I can't control what they do. So for me to
Mm.
put out that claim is setting up an unrealistic expectation. It's sort of like when in social work, when you work in social work, 'cause that's part of my background too, they'll tell you, if you are an outcry witness, if a child or an elderly person comes to you and tells you that they're being harmed, one of the worst things you can do is to tell them, don't worry, it's going to be okay now. I'm going to get you out of here. You cannot guarantee that. You cannot. And so I like to say brave space, because at least for a brave space, we are mutually committing to. We are going to tell our truths. We'll be respectful with it, but we will tell our truths in our own words. We will be able to show up as we are, even if it's jagged and it's imperfect, and we have to kind of be supported in even articulating how we feel. So I think we need those spaces of bravery and openness to even goal set, to even, I mean, people are always talking about improving the world or improving community. But how can we do that when the people who are supposed to be holding space are like a soda can that's shaken up? As soon as you pop that lid, it goes everywhere and you have no control over it. So we have to have that. And what I want to respectfully invite people to do, I'm going to talk to our ladies here. Ladies, I encourage us to be mindful about making light of men when they express their feelings that are vulnerable.
That
Now,
part.
yeah, if someone, right, if someone's gaslighting you, girl, but if someone is expressing how they feel, or if a little boy, if you have a son or a nephew or whatever else, and he gets knocked down and he cries or he says something hurt his feelings, please don't punch him in the chest. Please don't tell him to man up. Please don't, because that is what creates this pattern of people imploding. And it also is what kind of helps to build contention and friction between black men and black women, because
Mm.
if someone has a mother wound uh from their mother never listening to them and holding space, how do you think they're going to engage with other women? They don't know how to hold space and open up to you because they were not taught to. They were not held, that kind of space is not held for them. So I like to say that because I think sometimes we end up doing like a battle of genders, like, well, y'all need to do this, well, y'all need to do that. Well, listen, this is what's needed mutually in the community. How can I help
Yes.
you? And how can I help you? How can I inform you to better help and assist and support me? So that's what I think about it. And I say this as a person who, as a former educator, they would always send most of the bad boys, especially black ones, to me. They didn't behave the same way with me because I was stern, but I talked to them with a level of respect because they're still a human being, even as a second grader.
Oh
Or
yeah.
when I've worked in mental health in actual institutions, like working with unhoused people, working on getting them some state benefits and getting them housed and getting treatment and all of that, most of them, it was a lot of them were black males, okay, and they would show up for my appointments but maybe not other people's appointments because again I held them accountable, but I still offered a layer of respect. So again, multiple things can be true at once. Sometimes we take on this like tyrannical or really borrowing from principles of like white male fragility, which says to smush everybody else down and make my voice the loudest and make everyone else subhuman, and we don't realize how much we associate that with success and power. And so we subconsciously or sometimes consciously start to adapt some of that mentality. And again, this doesn't go for all white males. Again, go look up white male fragility. You can research what it's all about. It's not a Dr.
It's in
Dabrina
the
ism.
White House, the orange one. That's the perfect
Yes.
example right there.
Right. And it is my opinion that a reason why a lot of people were drawn to supporting that individual is because in some ways, whether people accept it or not, he represents the American dream. The American dream is not how we've tried to paint it for decades. The American system has always been about building on the backs of marginalized people who don't have as much leverage as you. So the fact that he can get these felony charges or the fact that he wasn't qualified and all of that, a lot of people want that. They want to be able to go out there and have what they want and not go through the process, not have to take the steps, not be qualified, not be held accountable. So again, we have to, I like to tell people, instead of focusing on why is this flower growing this way or why are the leaves dead, it's not always the flower, it is the soil. It is, are we watering it enough? Like, are you watering it at peak sunlight, which is helping to burn it up? Is it too in the sun? Is it not in the sun enough? Like, look at the whole thing, and that ties into root cause trauma. I like to look at the root of things. Otherwise, that's how we end up spinning in circles. And again, it goes, well, y'all need to do this and y'all need to do that. No, let's look at the root of this, because a lot of times the root of things is not really about me or this other person. The root of things is often tied to some type of root cause trauma, some type of intentional systematic
Yeah.
fracture, some type of historical erasure, something. So point is, Men, black men or not, please know that there are women that hold space for you and support you, and know that your emotions, it's not a sign of weakness. Vulnerability can build community. Just be mindful of who you're sharing that vulnerability with. And also, there's always room for your emotions. Being able to be emotionally intelligent and express yourself is actually, to me, a sign of strength and a sign of divine masculinity,
Oh
in my
yeah.
opinion.
And it makes you human. Why keep it bottled up inside? Because in the end result, they said trauma trickles down. As we see our parents, we are our parents. So what we see growing up in the household, we will do in our marriage or with our significant others years later. And you find yourself like, wow, I'm repeating the same cycle. It's called
Yeah.
insanity. You can't keep doing the same thing and expecting different results. That trauma will trickle down to the next generation. And it's
Mhm.
important that we break that cycle, especially
Mhm.
black men. I'm proud of black men for being vulnerable and saying, hey, I'm not okay. And I've seen they had the barbershop conversation on BET, and these black men were sharing their experience. It was like a brotherhood. Oprah had something on her channel when the pandemic hit, and it was all of these actresses doing what's called a girlfriend's check-in, like, hey girl, how you
Mhm.
doing? And Taraji Henson, I keep using Taraji, I love Taraji, she said, black women, we do this more than ever. We pick up the
Mhm.
phones and we will be like, okay girl, whatever you need, what can I do for you, my sister? What can I do? We phone in and we check in with our sisters. We phone in and we
Right.
check in with our mother or our grandmother. And it's natural for us, but black men are starting to do it more as well too. And I think that places
Yeah.
like the barbershop is a safe space for them, even though they talk trash about us in there, and we do the same thing in our beauty shops. But however, these are our spaces. And black men watching Style by Stevie, just know that in us as black women, we got your back. There are some of us out here that put you down and look down on you, but we're not one of these women. We love you, we adore you, and we are going to continue to keep having your back. That's what it's all about. It's that support system. So remember that. Remember that. I just wanted to put that out there to
Yes.
our brothers that are watching, because black men watch the platform and they love and adore them some Style by Stevie. They adore the platform. They adore all of us as black women. But just know that we got your backs. You have a safe space. You have a shoulder to cry on, the same vice versa. So
Yes.
that's what it's about. And we have to keep continuing to open safe spaces for each and every one of us as black people, as a black collective in the community. Don't be
Right.
afraid to talk about it. That's the thing where we make a mistake, and stop looking down on people for getting therapy. That's something
Mhm.
that I see it in the Latinx community. If it's not the Latinx community, it's in our community. We're doing the same thing. So stop
Yeah.
looking down on people for for seeking mental health help,
Mhm.
talking to a therapist, talking to someone who can guide them in the right direction. There is nothing wrong with going and sitting on that couch and telling someone, I don't feel my best today. I don't feel okay. So
Yeah.
normalize mental health, talk about it, because if you don't, you will become so angry. And we're seeing stress and high blood pressure and all of these things take our black men out in the collective. And another thing, a lot of black men have been incarcerated unfairly for crimes they didn't commit. And as they get out, the system does something to them. It
Mhm.
traumatizes them. And they
Yeah.
have like literally what's his name, and he was on the Breakfast Club, Gilly, who served time in prison, and he did a live with, I can't remember the other guy's name, and he was eating fast because he was saying, why are you
Yeah.
eating so fast? The other guy was like, why are you eating so fast? He was like, when that guard came around and banged on the table, you got to be done with your food a certain time. He was like, slow
Yeah.
down, you home now, you're not in prison. So the system also does something to black men. It breaks them down in a system where it is black men that are being incarcerated unfairly, unjustly, in a system that does not fight for us, that does not care for us. And America was never great. And I think Jill Scott, instead of the national anthem, she performed it beautifully at Essence, the or one of the festivals the previous year before. She said the flag, they don't care about you. And we know
Yeah.
this. We know this. So it is important that we as Black people, we as the Black collective, we go out here and we talk about it. Because that trauma that's holding on, oh, trust, we're going to get our lick back, as the babies would say. We are going to get our lick back. Black people, we will win. We will survive. We will conquer. At the end of the day, we will thrive. But mental health is something we have to normalize in our community, in the collective, across the span. So I wanted to touch on that. Now, Dark Mondays, Dr. Dabrina, tell us about your show, Dark Mondays.
Sure. So Dark Mondays with Dr. Dabrina Sandifer started in 2020 during the
The
pandemic.
pandemic. Wow.
So, right, which I did not, that was serendipitous. I didn't premeditate that, but I mentioned that just detail so that I want to encourage other people to know that sometimes there is no perfect time when you're waiting for the perfect time. Like, be mindful, but if you're waiting for the perfect time, you may be waiting at that bus stop like forever, right? And so I was with a previous station, an FM station prior to that, and it was it dealt with the arts but in like a different way, and there were several hosts of it, which is still great, still have great relationships there. But when the pandemic came, um because it's a group, it went on a complete hiatus, right? But I had been interviewed on All Real Radio for other press runs for projects and all this kinds of stuff. And again, it was serendipitous. We ended up speaking more, chatting more. And because at that station, and when you come in, it's not like at my previous station, you may come in to do a show, but it's a studio here, then there's a gathering space here. So it's always multiple people present for various purposes, which is beautiful. But again, with the pandemic, that had to kind of dissolve per se. With All Real Radio at the time, they were able to continue their programming because you can have one person in at a time, or people can pre-record their stuff and just send it in, or whatever the case may be. Now, I still went into the station because I just loved the vibe of it and all of that, but I don't even remember the complete conversation that really kicked it all off. I just remember that we started talking about it, came up with a name, created a start date. My first episode, I had like 4 different guests, like all of them. No. Some of them were via phone, maybe 1 or 2 were in person, and we took safety precautions and all of that. But some of the guests were like one of them in particular was out of California, and he's won like film awards in France and worked for BET, all this kinds of stuff. And so it's been 5 years, not always consistent because I had to take pauses. Like, for instance, when my dad very suddenly passed away, I didn't have the
Oh,
headspace to
wow.
completely put my feet on the ground in the morning all the way sometimes. It was a miracle to me that I was still doing that. But the station owners, Denise and Drew, held space for me. Again, talking about holding space for people, empathizing, just all of that stuff. But they always told me, whenever you're ready, remember, you got a space here. Like, hey, it's
Yes.
time, but we'll wait for you to be ready, because the show meant something special to people. So anyway, we relaunched it again in December. And so again, we've had guests from, similar to what you do, right? We've had guests from throughout the country. We focus on all sorts of arts disciplines, but we also highlight stories. So just to explain for audience members who may not be familiar, right? Just to inform, Dark Mondays is a theatrical term, right? So we say Dark Mondays because typically theaters, there's no shows on Mondays for the most part, right? So it's considered dark. The lights are off, and that gives people a chance to kind of have a little bit of rest and things like that. So I wanted the show to be on Mondays to open up more availability for artists to come and not feel like they have to miss a rehearsal or figure it out or whatever else. But also because our tagline is spreading sunshine on your dark Mondays, because also
Mm,
people hate Mondays. They get a case of the Mondays. So we try to invert that thought process, because you can look at it as, this is a chance to start anew. It's a chance for me to walk into this week with a different headspace if I would like, all of that kinds of stuff. But also we spread sunshine by spreading awareness. So not just with performances and shows and artistic things, but what art is used as a tool for, which is spreading light and awareness and representing demographics, but also we have covered cases and things like that, and charity events and things like that on the show. For instance, the murder of Joshua Johnson, which happened in Missouri City. And Missouri City
Uh-huh.
is just on the outskirts of Houston. It's like somewhat one of the suburbs of Houston. He was unjustly murdered by law enforcement on his street while he was house sitting for an elderly neighbor who was in the
Dear
hospital.
God.
So, right, and he's the only child, was in his 30s, was engaged, was a veteran. Um, After he was killed, his stepdad, who really functioned as his father, full father, his health immediately went on a decline. And sadly, he passed away within the past year or so. And then his mother, so imagine this, his mother still lives in that house. So every day that you drive in for errands or from work or whatever else, you are passing the spot where your son's body was lying in the street for a unnecessary kind of amount of time, while essentially it looks like maybe they were trying to put their story together or do whatever. Talk about trauma, right? Talk about the impact of that. And he's a story that we also featured in the Mother Project. But we've covered that repeatedly, so we've done exclusives for that case. We have broadcast updates with the family representation advocate per se. He's an artist. He's an artist, but he's also the advocate for the family spokesperson as well. We've had him on numerous times. He's been a person, James Hudson, Showtime Entertainment. He's been a person that's been under attack, being followed by police officers, having his home gone into, all of that, because this case has been a cover up, a huge cover up. Because, and I'll say this briefly, um, allegedly, the officer says that Joshua came and tapped on his window with what appeared to be a firearm, and this is why he reacted the way that he did. However, the ballistics reports, which scientifically shows the entry wound, the exit wound, all of that, it proves that Joshua was running away at the time of being shot. And the big thing for me that stands out is if the officer would have rendered aid, it is very likely that Joshua would have survived. The fact that he did not render aid, the fact that he did not quickly call the ambulance is why Joshua died, because Joshua made it to his car. I don't know this for sure, but I imagine that in shock and desperation, he was just trying to get himself some help. He died from his own blood filling his lungs and suffocating on it. So again, go look it up. Joshua Johnson, Missouri City. There's articles on it and all this kinds of stuff. And so we've covered things like that. I've even had people in my personal life like, stop covering that case. Like if other people who are advocating are being targeted, being harassed, their phones are being tapped and there's evidence of it and all of this kind of stuff, what do you think? You're just going to be next. And there was an instance in which there was some interesting things happening with my cell device. But my thought was, Miss Stevie, if not me, then who? I am a person that has mostly brothers. I have three brothers and only one sister. I have a majority uncles and things like that, right? Um, so many, I'm a girl's girl, absolutely, but again, my first friends were boys because there was only boys on my street. All of that. I've been very fortunate to have wonderful males in my life in different capacities. I just thought, man, goodness forbid, but if this happened to someone that I cared about, I would just hope that someone with a platform, someone um who can convey the story to make it visceral for people, I would hope that someone would stand up. And so in this case, I decided, well, I'll just be the person that stands up and I'll figure anything else out, any other crap out from there. So that's what we did for at least 3 years. We've routinely covered the case because it's ongoing. There's more things that happen. Now it's in a civil court, so on and so forth. And so, yes, Dark Monday spread sunshine. We laugh. We have a good kiki. Sometimes we have artists singing live on air. We did a whole event where we had a limited audience that got to come in and see some live performances, and we had and that was complimentary. We also had complimentary gumbo and adult libations and all kinds of nice giveaways and lovely stuff. So we have fun. But a part of building community is examining and being realistic about the unpretty
Oh
stories.
yeah.
When we avoid the unpretty stories, just like suppressing feelings, just like turning a blind eye to things as long as it's not affecting us, when we don't want to talk, because we have this thing now where it's like, oh, No bad vibes. Well, there's toxic positivity, right? When we're ignoring everything, when you think somebody got a bad vibe because they sneezed, we are now getting to a place where that compromises emotional intelligence as well. That compromises our ability to do conflict resolution. Everything is not an argument. Everyone is not a quote unquote op because they don't agree with you or because you don't see this one thing the same way. So that's the same thing. We have to empathize even with demographics or story that may not resonate completely with how we check all of our boxes off. And again, we have to look at and shed a light on unpretty stories, even if it stings, because you would rather shine a light on it than for it to ricochet and now you're the person that's experiencing it next. So that's a little bit about
Absolutely.
Dark Mondays.
Absolutely. And we have to continue to keep telling these stories because if we don't, then who will? We are the culture, we are the storytellers. And these things happen. And as it pertains to Joshua Johnson, where they cover it up, it's our mission to use our voices and our platforms to make sure that his story is told. And again, that's why I gave you your flowers in the beginning of the interview, and I give you your flowers again for making sure that our stories are told as Black filmmakers, as Black directors, producers. It's key that and crucial that we network, that we continue to form community and like-minded people who have the same mindset as you, who have the same goal as you, who have the same intentions as you, and that is to make sure that Black voices are heard. So that's why I created Style by Stevie. I said, okay, I want to make sure that every voice is heard. Someone who has a voice also who is doing something, who is being a change maker, and you have to. It's not going to be easy, but you have to continue to make sure that you are doing the work. And what else I love about you are you're in so many lanes, and it is key and crucial that people continue to keep following Dr. Dabrina and people like myself who are being objective, who are using our voices and our platforms. And we know I love Roland Martin. Roland Martin is one of my favorites, and he says something that is key and crucial. He said they silenced the Black voice, but the Black voice more than ever is amplified. They can never silence our voice because we know the true lineage and history of this country. And it is key and it is crucial that we continue to use our platforms. I think Don Lemons echoed the same sentiment as well too. And that is Black voices and your voice is important. So make sure that you are using your platform. Grab out your phone, go ahead and create you a YouTube channel, get out here and vent, talk about how you feel. And if there's something that people are not talking about as it pertains to Joshua Johnson, when we know the truth, make sure that that truth is out there to the people. Now, at your own risk, because you said they was tapping the phone lines and everything, but make sure that you be prepared for the repercussions.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to be the good kind of trouble, and that's the words of the late John Lewis. You have to be the good kind of trouble, and right now we have to be the good kind of trouble. We have to make sure that every Black voice and every marginalized group is included. We can't exclude. We have to make sure that we are including. And